Welcome everybody to the LA Blender Users Group. My name is Sterling Goetz. I'm one of three co-hosts, one of four co-hosts actually, including our friend over here. So we got a good agenda for you guys today. And we can just play this by ear. I tried specifically to leave as much time as possible for show and tells because we'd love seeing the projects. The great thing about a Blender meetup in LA is that you just get all manner of awesome Blender projects. We have people from NASA and film and TV and video game development, and I'm always shocked at how great the sessions are. So we're going to start off, as we always do, with a quick what's new with Blender. So our last meeting was at July 8th, so it's been a while. So we kind of just do a quick recap. I get out of the way. We've got David Andrade coming in to do a feature overview for Blender 4. So he'll be coming in remote. And then, we'll do a quick break and socialize. And then we have Kijian. Am I pronounced that correct? I'm sorry. Ki or KJ? Kijian?
Yeah, Kijan. That's my full name. But you can go with Key if that's easier, or KJ. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. We'll have a session on using Blender to create social media content. KJ's working for somebody that's got like tens of millions of followers, and it's pretty cool stuff. And then Brian Legoo, I ran into him at the Blender conference in Amsterdam recently. He said he wanted to present at this meeting. I'm not sure entirely if he's coming in person or coming in remote or at all, but he does some pretty cool stuff. He's got a studio here in LA called Spruce. And then, we'll kick it off for everybody to present. Anybody have any questions or comments before we get going? Awesome. Okay. Because sometimes we get 25, 30 people at this meeting. There's usually somebody in the room that's never seen Blender before. Has everybody here seen Blender?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we can skip this. I know. The one thing I point out here is people are usually drawn to Blender because it's free, but then they stay because the community is pretty awesome and the software is amazing. There's been a lot going on with Blender. So unless you've been hiding under a rock, you probably have seen that Blender 4 released. I think it just happened this last week. So our timing is great for this meeting. Blender 4, so large number increases like Blender 4 are usually breaking versions. So there's some backward compatibility considerations you need to keep in mind, but it's usually a generational jump for some of the internals for Blender. And there's a lot of new features that come with Blender 4, including everything you see here. I'm going to not go into detail on this now because hopefully David Andrade will come in and kind of give us some highlights. But it's also important to note that Blender 3.6.5 long-term release is also released. So if you run a big studio and you're concerned about stability, that's the current LTS release. In terms of, and actually we're up to Blender 4.0.1 as of this morning. So there's already a point release on Blender 4. Let me just double check. Yeah, there we go. All right. And so in terms of projects and films, so there's a new movie, Wing It, that came out. Hopefully everybody's seen that. That is this one here. It's so the Blender Studio, in case you're unfamiliar, they do open movie projects where they not only create short films, but then they release all of the assets and the techniques that they use Blender for to do it. So if you're a small filmmaker, then it's a really great resource to find out how they did it. So this is a 2D animated film. It's actually 3D, but they made it look 2D. There's also Project Gold, open movie in development. This thing looks truly amazing. Some of the kind of concept art that's coming out of this, it's got me really excited to see it. So I think they're really going to push proceduralism with Blender in this film. Got to take a look at even more concept art when I was at the Blender Studio a week or two ago. There's Blender Bob is kind of a Blender celebrity on YouTube. He's doing a movie called Tiki, and I don't, there's many short films in Blender under development. Blender Bob's kind of one of the more serious industry professionals, so I kind of expect he'll finish it. So I'm excited to see what they could turn out. There's also like a nice short film called Super Tramp that's Blender's being used for. The Blender annual report came out. So if you're interested in the stats on Blender, it's an interesting read. It's rather big, so it's going to download now, but you can go see like how many people are downloading Blender, what the demographic distribution is, where all the money's going if you contribute to Blender. So it's pretty fascinating stuff, actually. Let me see if I could at least look at one slick graph, Blender.org. Let's see. I always like to see how many times it's been downloaded, which is like mind-boggling. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I should have read this before. Okay, all right. Never mind.
Maybe it's all the way at the end.
It's probably all the way at the end, yeah. But anyways, it's a fascinating read. So yeah, for you to check it out. Let's see. So there's a couple of video games that we're using Blender in development. So the Bungie, come on in. Bungie, the people that make Halo, are working on a next generation game called Marathon. They're using Blender for that. Alan Wake 2 just released. So Remedy is the studio there. They're using Blender for that, which is really a AAA game. And then there's a whole bunch of free software. So although it's not Blender necessarily, Inkscape is kind of the Adobe Illustrator of the open source world for vector graphics. Krita is kind of, I guess you would consider that what the open source. It's kind of like a combination of Photoshop and like drawing apps, and it's kind of an amazing software actually. Something called Keen Tools for Blender. This is something Sean Kennedy was excited about, so I thought I'd mention it here. So Keen Tools makes some good visual effects tools. GeoTracker is a tracking and match moving app for Blender. And then Blender Nation Bazaar is kind of interesting. So this is the same people behind Blender Nation. They created a searchable index of like everything. So tutorials, assets, if you've heard about it or seen it, add-ons, whatever you're looking for on Blender, this is kind of the Google search of Blender community. So, if you're looking for a Blender 3.6 tutorial on how to make ocean waves, you just type that and you can find it here. So, kind of handy.
What is it called again?
It's called Blender Nation Bazaar. So if you go to bazaar.blendernation.com. Okay, and then some other stuff. So we have announced that we're going to have a Blender conference here in Los Angeles, which is super exciting, right? So we did some research, myself and the CG Cookie crew, and David Andrade was actually part of the early parts of this. And we did some market research, and we found out like only, I think something like 12 or 15% of the Blender conference attendees are from North America. So basically, and actually somewhere around 15% of Americans ever get a passport. So we like obviously staying in our own country as a people. So so we're excited. Hey, come on in. So we're excited to actually have a Blender conference here in LA, where it's going to be next April. We've got a really awesome venue, which you can kind of see in the pictures here. It's the Fonda Theater. It's right on Hollywood Boulevard. It's an amazing venue, nice and social, lots of little nooks and crannies for people to be social and get to know each other. There's rooftop deck. We're going to have a social night with drinks and everything else. So it should be super fun. So register. We expect it to sell out very quickly because we're limiting the number of tickets, try and keep it small and intimate for our first year. So when you do see them go on sale, you definitely want to snatch them quickly. But the lineup is hopefully going to be great. And we're looking for speakers. So if you're doing cool work with Blender, we have a content review board that we're setting up. More information to come. We'd love to have your sessions. So we're in the middle of November. Is anybody participating in November this year? No? All right. For those online, we have 2, 4, 6, 8 people in the room now. So November is for creating procedural node-based graphics. And it's not just Blender nodes. It's also other packages like Rhino, I think, and maybe some others, but predominantly it's Blender. So they pick these different themes, and people create the stuff. And if you follow the hashtag on X or some of the other social media platforms, it's remarkable what you can see people create. And usually people share their nodes. So it's a really great way to learn advanced techniques in Blender node building with geometry nodes and simulation nodes. Nowadays, everybody could probably use a little bit of knowledge in this area. If you are into podcasts, there's a Denoise podcast run by the CG Cookie crew. And it's awesome. I've been listening to it myself, would recommend it. Let's see, Black Friday sales are coming up. So if you've been holding out for that Blender add-on or that third-party commercial app, there's, I think Andrew Price is like collecting packages related to Blender, and he's going to be posting them on his X account. So stay tuned. The Blender conference in Amsterdam is over, and all of the content is online. So you can, sorry. So this is the conference here. It was held in downtown Amsterdam. It was absolutely wonderful. Great. I highly recommend it. If you're into travel and you want to go meet like the entire Blender crew, who will incidentally also be at the LA conference. But all of the recorded sessions are online. So there's just tons of content. So these are all sessions. They record them, put them up online. So there's whatever you're into, there's probably a session on it.
How did you get to that link where it had that playlist?
Yeah, so that's on the Blender YouTube channel.
Oh, just the channel. Okay.
Yeah, and they have here, I'll even show you. So if you just go to playlists, and you'll find it in there. There's the Blender conference. Oh, sorry, that's it there. Super fun. So Blender was also at SIGGRAPH. Hopefully some of you guys made it there. There were like hundreds of Blender people in the room for the Birds of a Feather. It was awesome. They were at the View conference, and I don't know why I put this in here. I guess I'm a fan of this guy on YouTube called Punisher. Punisher. I don't know how you pronounce it. Probably Punisher.
Very special.
But he was part of the Corridor crew, Corridor Digital crew. He's kind of spun off on his own thing. He runs CG competitions, and he's been doing more Blender stuff lately online. So I recommend you check him out. I'm going to stop there and just see if there's anything anybody else wants to contribute in terms of like news or things going on with Blender. Anything at all? All right. Okay, this is not comprehensive, but that's kind of what's going on with Blender.
The node modifiers feature is pretty cool. I've been seeing a lot of stuff for that with like the November thing.
Oh, you mean just like using
Like
nodes to create
node modifiers is like a new thing in Blender or something.
You can build
Which
graph.
you can build graphs for like
Basically build your own.
build your own modifiers with nodes now.
Yeah, so it's like geometry nodes.
Yeah, and I've just been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter X about that or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So the neat thing, as somebody online was pointing out, is geometry nodes tools, which allows you to package up geometry nodes that you create into a reusable tool that you can share with others. So if you have a large Blender pipeline and your visual effects artists are doing the same things over and over, you create it in tools, you can put it in the assets library of Blender, you put it on a shared drive, and they make it really easy. You can even build UI widgets around it, or the plan is to enable us to build UI widgets around it. So it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
we also have like iteration loops now too, which is like you put in input, you put an input in and it goes through it. Like you can set the number of times it'll go through the input or whatever.
Indeed.
So you don't have to duplicate a lot of nodes.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to duplicate nodes anymore.
Yeah, so it's it's kind of like a fledgling Houdini, right? It's
making its way up.
It's got a long way to go, but it's pretty exciting the direction it's taking. So yeah.
A question rather than a observation, but I know Unity just had their announcement keynote, and there's an awful lot of generative AI that they're coordinated with. Is there any developing connections between Blender and generative AI Did I miss that? Coming in late.
The texture plugins. Like people do like projection and stuff, and then they'll use like stable diffusion algorithms to like project textures onto 3D geo, stuff like that.
There's some Blender AI. I
Yeah,
think there's an add-on or two.
yeah, there's a few, but it's not too much.
Okay.
You have to make your own add-ons if you want.
It'll go.
Yeah, so in prior meetings, we've shown off generating textures with AI, generating meshes with AI, rotoscoping with AI, rigging with AI, generating Blender Python code with AI, all using large language models, and so on and so forth. So you literally, there's, whatever you're looking to do, there's probably an AI-driven tool to do it. They just usually are third party. They don't come from the Blender Foundation yet, but they're still building their AI roadmap. Sorry, was it somebody online had a comment? Oh, maybe not.
Just background noise.
Okay. So, you know, it's a great question.
So do they have
They're working on it, is the short answer. So, yeah, it's obviously there's a lot of intellectual property concerns with that kind of thing. So, and actually there was a AI and intellectual property session at the Blender conference. It's really fascinating to listen to. Just in case you're new to Blender, there's a series of websites that are super handy. Obviously, the first one's where you download it. The second one is the LA Times of Blender. The third one is kind of where you go to show off your artwork and ask for critiques. Blender Communities includes Blender artists. And then the rest of these are kind of like tutorial sites, that kind of thing. And you're welcome to just email me, sterling@pixelfire.org, for a copy of the deck.
Sweet. Hi, everyone. My name's Kijan. I kind of put this together at the last minute. I've been out with COVID for a while. So I'm scrambling here. So just letting you know, this is probably more show and tell. I work in a small studio for a guy named Zach King. If you've heard of him, if you've been on the internet, most likely you've seen a video of his or two. We have very recently, we hit 80 million followers on TikTok. And we got about 24 million on YouTube, I think nearing 30 on Instagram. And what he's known for are basically videos that have video magic and things in perspective that a building might turn into a miniature, candies may turn into something else, and it's usually a visual treat for everybody. I've been at the studio about 7 to 8 years now, and I'm a VFX 3D generalist, and for any 3D stuff, most of it is Blender. And yeah, I'll just kind of go through, I guess, showcase some of the stuff that I've done. If you guys have questions, let me know. This is going to be very informal. So let's see, how do I get out of this? So
and here we have our most famous illusion, the old woman.
Old woman?
Oh, I'm sorry, I actually mean it's the young lady.
Can you guys hear the sound?
Yeah.
Cool. So this is an example of where we one of our team members had an idea of what if we brought the young lady, old lady to life in one of our videos, and I debated on how to approach this one, bringing the old lady to life. I eventually went with using Blender, and so we have a little 3D animation in the middle, and the transition has been made kind of seamless using a plugin called Lockdown for After Effects. Yeah, this was a fun one.
I'm sorry, I actually mean it's the young.
We also do sponsor projects from time to time, and if you guys know a game called Ratchet and Clank.
This water balloon fights get pretty intense. Hopefully I have this from the new Ratchet and Clank game. It's cool. what I'm talking about.
Zach, oh my gosh, are you good? Oh man, Zach.
So for this one, I was tasked with creating the 3D prints. So I never dealt with 3D printers before until I got into the studio. A company called Lulspot, they sent us a few printers at one point in trade for a video that we did for them. And so I got to experiment and learn how to do 3D prints on an FDM printer. And for this, they actually sent us their game assets. But the thing is, if you guys know 3D printing, you need to make sure the geometry is made for 3D printing, which these were not. And so part of that was the conversion process, but also for the glove, because it was made for a game character who doesn't have human proportions. I had to take measurements of Zach's hand and then try to figure out how to best fit it, and kind of like fingers crossed that everything comes together just fine, because we didn't have too long and these were big prints. Yeah, so, but this was a fun one.
Super cool.
And then this was for Clash of Clans. And I think what I'm gonna do is, yeah, actually I'll show the final video first.
Welcome back, Chief. Where do you want us to put the troops?
Okay, we're gonna put people on the... I'm gonna need giants to the walls, and then right behind them, archers and barbarians. And reminder, watch out for spring troops.
So this one, we have one other 3D VFX journalist who worked at the studio, and he did basically the 3D environment, and I was tasked with doing this little trap door there, and then sending him out into the bag, animating him flying through the air. The interesting thing about this one, and I think I'll share like some of the background process for this. We initially we tend to do like mock-ups in studio before we shoot videos, especially for the more complex ones. And so they initially shot this video we used to have a warehouse in Santa Fe Springs, and this was where we made a lot of our old videos. And they shot a short video trying to figure out, okay, what is going to be the general layout, what kind of actions is that going to be doing. And then they requested me to create a previs to get a better idea of how everything will come together. The interesting thing about this one is, if you notice, Zach is kind of a cowboy character. And this is because I got this rig from, I don't know if you guys know Colin Levy, but he's known for doing Sintel and was it Agent 327? And I met him actually at one of the Blender meetups, I think a few years ago, and he came by our studio, and he ended up directing one of our shorts called Time Traveling Sheriff, and he had created this version of Zach to do his own previs, and so now I use this Sheriff Zach for a lot of our internal previs. Let's see. I think I'm gonna skip a few. This was one we did for Kinetic Sand. They had an idea of a monster that comes to life that's made out of kinetic sand. And this was the final design our internal illustrator came up with. And I was tasked to create a 3D version of that. And this is what I ended up with. The challenge with this guy was the shader. So in the end, it kind of came out to be like I guess somewhere in between kinetic sand and clay. And I didn't really know how to make it really feel like kinetic sand without, I don't know, simulating sand or something, which I did not know how to do. But overall, though, it came out successful. It's a fun little character, and integrated into a video. This is what we got.
Treasure? We might have buried it.
What do you mean you buried it? Let me down.
Hey, over here!
Come on. Go. Hey, my wallet. Have you guys?
Nice.
And this one was, aside from so all most of it was keyframe animated, hand animated, except for this part where you see just like part of the body. This was mocapped by my coworker, so it was a nice fusion of the two methods.
So KJ, could you mention like how Blender was used as you're going through some of these?
Oh yeah, yeah. So Blender was used for the creation of the character, from modeling the texture. I think I did that using Substance, and rigging. I think I primarily use Auto Rig Pro for it, but then I did customize the rig for my own liking, and obviously the animation and the render sequence from Blender. Final compositing we typically do in After Effects, and I think I'll share one more before I get into like more in-depth ones. But we did a video recently for Lunchables.
Oh no, we gotta stop it. Hey, hey, over here. Leave me alone.
The dents are about to escape.
So this was a project. It's like it was like a 3-person project for the post end of it. We started off with a initial previs shot on location, which was this one. Just like blocking in, okay, where should the dinosaur be? And this, we had the producer standing in for Zach. He's waving a stick around. That was going to be the marinara stick. And okay, this is how the dinosaur bites down. And then the little fun thing here where it takes another bite and then it's there. Yeah, Zach loved that, but he's like, too bad the client's not going to go for it. After that, we get the plates, and this is what it looks like without any of the VFX. And we had a marker for where the Lunchables items were gonna be. And you'll notice we have like just tracking markers on the pieces holding. There's no marinara sauce. And I believe this is where, so Stirling mentioned earlier about the Keen tools, the geo tracker for Blender. So we had a freelancer work on this, helping me with this. And he was using Blender as well. His name is Steve Ernst. I also met him at one of the meetups a few years ago. And he was using the geo tracker, and he said there was a little bit of a learning process, but it worked really well. And for my part, I did the dinosaur. I found a model of the dinosaur pre-rigged on Sketchfab, I believe, but it wasn't like to the quality that I liked it and design. So we revised it, and then I did the final animation. This was, I think, done in about a month. Okay. So, and then I got some bigger projects I could share. How am I doing on time, Sterling?
Yeah, you're doing okay. Yeah, keep
Okay,
going.
cool. So we do a lot of short form videos, like for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. They're like maybe 15-second videos. But we also do have a YouTube channel where we do longer form videos, and some of those are short films. And we have one series that's kind of ongoing called Stranded. And hello?
Yeah, you're still with us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my computer blacked out. And so for this one, I got to do the prop design and I guess the main VFX shot. And I think I'm gonna share some of the process that went into this. I actually have a physical prop on me, which I don't think, yeah, you're not gonna be able to see. Wait, can you guys see me as a small little icon somewhere?
See him on that iPad thing over there, Sterling. But it's like really tiny icon.
Forget it. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
I can
I'll show you guys the
probably,
video.
yeah, I mean, I can probably make you, let's see, hold on. Oh, there you go. Okay, we can see you now. Although you,
Cool.
yeah, blur background is messing with it a little bit.
How do I take that out?
Just keep it close. It's we can see it. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So
Oh,
this is the prop that I created for our Stranded 2 project. It's supposed to be a magical prop that's kind of like Midas's hand. The hook part of it, whatever this touches, it turns stuff into gold. And there's a lot of detail that went into it. And this was fully developed within, well, the 3D model was fully developed within Blender, but I wanted a way to iterate on the design fairly easily. And what I ended up doing was, well, I thought I'm going to use a displacement map. I thought that's the easiest way to iterate the 3D model instead of sculpting and needing to, I don't know, redo parts of the sculpt, which sounded like a nightmare to me. And so the method I came up with was, this was done in After Effects, where I placed several design elements together into a square image, and then used the rectangular to polar coordinates effect to make it into a circular image. And basically, I unwrap the shell part of the hook to be a circle. So all I have to do is to update this black and white image, and it would update the physical geometry for the shell. But also, same thing with the hook as well. And I worked out actually a whole story that's embedded into the different parts of the hook. And for the side parts here, actually embedded initials. So ZK for Zach King, JF for Josh Fab, the director, Noah Kuz, our art guy. And at the bottom here is my name written out in Korean. But the def for both sides there, which was pretty fun. It's like little details. Yeah, people aren't gonna really see it, but it adds to the overall aesthetic. And then the biggest challenge was at the very apex of the story, we have the villain turn into a gold because she's greedy. She's going after the prop or the artifact, and we actually had somebody else work on it, and they weren't giving us the result that we needed, and they asked if I could take over. But this was kind of a challenge, because it wasn't just a person turning, like freezing and turning into gold, but what the part of the challenge was here. I think this might help to illustrate it. So she's supposed to be grabbing onto the hook from the left side, and then the gold transformation happens across the arm and across the rest of her body. And because her clothing was like all flapping in the wind, we didn't know how to freeze along that point and have everything feel coherent. and the idea I came up with was I saw filters recently, I think on TikTok, where they time displace a footage so that you go from like top to bottom, or I think left to right, and things freeze up. The footage freezes up, and it gives this like weird, interesting, like flowing effect, which I thought might actually work really well for this effect. And I found a plugin for After Effects that was doing that, and ultimately I worked out how to make it work for us for that transformation scene. And this is what I got for the arm effect. This was obviously a rough version. And for the final video, oh, and if you guys want to watch the video and you don't want to be spoiled, then look away. But this is the main.
I'm glad that's behind us.
So here Zach's holding the prop there in his hand.
Are we good? We're good. I'm glad that's behind us. The island's behind us. Captain Blackwell's behind us.
So Blackwell is the villain.
The Hawk or your friends? What did it be, Captain?
Fine. It's all yours.
And that was the shot. So I used blend. Oops.
Your friends? What did it be?
So obviously the hook here is a Blender model, and as she transforms into gold, this is I believe they 3D scanned her, but the geometry wasn't quite up to par, so I had to do additional work to make it feel fairly seamless as she's transforming into a gold model. The transformation itself too, actually, this was done using a node within Blender. And then in After Effects, I made the transformation point just glow a little bit more and added particles. The background was done by my coworker.
Cool.
Yeah. That also, like I also sometimes do motion graphics. So at the end here, we see the title come up. Yeah.
That's great.
Nice.
And then the last one I'll share is part 3 of Stranded. And for this one, we actually got, I don't know if all of you guys know Terry Crews, but we have a good relationship with him. Yeah, he's on America's Got Talent, I think. But he was our villain in this short film. And the biggest thing for this was we had a CG character, or we had a character whose part of the character was gonna be CG, and it was supposed to be a child character who has these glowing eyes that is the only thing that's used to do any facial expressions. And this was the internal design our illustrator came up with. And I did further exploration of what the eyes could do, not really thinking about how to approach it. And I came up with this, and I'm like, oh, cool, I think this is gonna be fun. But then I didn't know how to approach it from the 3D end of it, because we wanted something that was grounded in 3D, but also expressive enough that it felt pretty 2D as well. And this was a whole R&D process. I think it took me about 2-3 months to actually build R&D and build the rig. And this was one of the earlier tests. Oh, there we go. So initially it was just toilet paper. The one key thing here is you'll notice the eyebrows, the toilet paper eyebrows moving about. that initial design was it was going to be the physical bandage that was going to help express the eyes further with the bandage being the eyebrows, but we scrapped that for time later on. And at one point I explored what those eyes might look like close up. And I thought it might be fun if the eyes were these kind of like spherical volumetric things, made it feel like kind of magical with kind of procedural animation effects there. But then later I learned we're going for cute, not creepy, and so I had to scrap it. But ultimately, I came up with a rig I'm pretty proud of, and this was the animation test that I did to kind of push its limits. So you'll notice, I mean, these are clearly 3D eyes, but they're fairly expressive, and to the point, like you could do these kind of anime happy eyes, which was cool. And one thing I was experimenting with was what does it look like when the character blinks? And because it was going to be these glowing eyes within kind of like a void, even though you could see the eyebrows, which was my kind of compromise of, okay, let's not do the bandage for the eyebrows, but what if we make the mesh have these Fresnel effects that kind of help to emphasize the emotion. But I thought it might be fun to actually have the irises expand and help to solidify the shape of the eyes when the eyes close, and I think ultimately it worked out well. And so that was the test that I did, and in the actual short, this is what we got.
Manu. Manu.
Zach, get him off you! He could be devouring your soul through his hug right now.
He's definitely not.
Manu.
I think he needs a hug.
No, I'm good. I'm good. You must know these terms pretty well. Nothing cursed.
And then I'm gonna point out a few shots that were a bit more challenging to do. And so the first one is this one, where we're trying to make this creepy mummy kid character look cute, and that was a challenge.
Look at him.
We referenced what is it? The cat from Shrek. I forgot the cat's name, but he's known for doing like these like really cute like close up on the eyes, and you see like the pupils going all wide. And so we studied a lot of those scenes. We realized one challenge was the fact that for our character the eyes are inverted. What I mean by that is pupils are black on white, and that's what we're used to. And initially we're wondering why our results weren't looking cute but rather creepy. And we inverted the colors. It's like, whoa, that's cute. But as soon as we invert it so that you get these glowing eyes on like darker irises for whatever reason, or sclera for whatever reason, it wasn't too easy to get it to look cute. And so after many iterations, this is what we came up with, which we thought was fairly successful. And then there's a little sequence where the characters have a little montage of going through some of the traps. And this is where you can see some of the most expressiveness of the eyes for the character. Like very exaggerated push and pulls there. And my personal favorite, a lot of people's favorite, is this scene here where Terry Crews's character is running away with the mummy character.
They're down there.
Mommy?
I am not your mummy.
The little cute pout there at the end, that was a fan favorite. So yeah, that's probably the biggest project I worked on this year using Blender, and that was a total of about 250 bones in total to create that rig, and a whole lot of constraints to go with that. It is 11:30. I could show off the rig if you guys want, but Sterling, how are we doing on time?
Yeah. Why don't we just stop there and see if anybody has any questions? So, any questions for KJ? Like, obviously, Blender used for all of this. I mean, awesome stuff. Like, really great content. I've subscribed to the channel, by the way, so I look forward to future videos from you.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What did you render all those eyeballs in? Was that cycles or was that Eevee or what are you using?
I believe I initially experimented with Eevee, but ultimately it was cycles.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but with denoising, it's like, yeah, it's a different world now.
So great. Good question. Any other questions? Yep.
It's also about the eyes. So you mentioned that the lines around the eyes are coming from the mesh itself. Like how did you set that up?
So actually, yeah, I'll actually show it to you right now. I have the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is kind of like here. Let me show you guys the full scope of the rig, just because I work so much on this. But that's what the monstrosity looks like. These are just the shapes here. Let me. Okay, whatever. It's been a while since I messed with this file, but the part of the challenge for this was, you'll notice here I have a whole lot of different controls for the different parts of the eyes, but I didn't want, as an animator, I hate having controls that are so separate, and I like to have one control that tends to control a lot of different controls at once. And ultimately that's what I came up with here. Like I can control this, and it'll control like several of the different bones in the back at the same time. I have a single control here that allows me to like move around, like follow the eyes together. And a big part of the challenge was actually, surprisingly maybe, like making sure the rig doesn't break when the things are scaled or positioned differently. And I ran into that issue multiple times where I would create a system, I'm like, oh cool, this is working really well. And then as soon as I scale the character, move it, it's like everything breaks, and I have to figure out what's going on and spend another day or two trying to fix that. But to answer your question about the anime eyes, I had controls that, what was it called? It's a constraint that allows you to kind of keyframe position of the bones, and then you could use the position or transformation of another bone to have all of the keyframes come together. And so I had that applied to one of the controls here. I believe it was this one, where yeah, so if I push that off to the side there, it'll kind of blink on either eye there. If I move it to the top, it'll make that happy face. If I go down, it'll make the kind of like the closed eyes shape there. Individually, this, if I rotate to the left, it'll make a squinting face. Yeah, I knew going in, like there were some specific shapes I wanted to get out of the eyes, and I didn't know how to do that easily, other than to create these kind of like pre-keyframed shapes that come into play when I dial up the controls. But yeah, cool. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I was wondering, I think more specifically about like the Fresnel effect that you did. Like, did you do that with a shader?
Oh yeah. You mean on the actual geometry?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes, that was a Fresnel effect. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated. It wasn't just like Fresnel and I'm done. I did a few things where, like, because I like when the character turns, I didn't want the Fresnel on certain parts of the eye to be as dramatic. So then I would have like these connected effects where when the character turns, a Fresnel effect on certain parts of the eyes or certain parts of the geometry would kind of like scale down. But I also had these further controls here. These controls were specifically to control the Fresnel. Here, let me see if I go into rendered mode, if you can see it. So yeah, you could see what's starting to happen there. So I actually had separate controls where if the automatic effects weren't what I needed to do, and this is specifically here, you'll see on the lower eyelids there, because sometimes to bring out that expression, it helps to emphasize the lower eyelid. And so yeah, that's yeah, it was a combination of like automated Fresnel effects with manual controls to offset for when it didn't look right.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, I saw you have an IK/FK switch there. What does that do?
Yeah, so probably technically that's not what it's called. But my mentality for that was I wanted the eyes to, you know, when the head's moving around, I want the eyes to lock onto the head, but I also wanted a control where it's like kind of like how IK for the arms and the legs work, where you have another control and no matter what the body's doing, it'll lock onto that, right? And so that's what this IK/FK control is supposed to do, where if I'm moving the character here, you'll notice the eyes aren't moving here because they're FK. And then if I dial this up to IK, then if I'm moving the character around, it's looking at that one spot. And that's what I call IK/FK. If there's a better term, you let me know. But that's what I ended up calling it.
Cool. Any other questions for KJ? Awesome. Thank you so much, KJ. This has been amazing.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, of course. I think what we'll do is I'm just going to steal back the share, and I've got a couple of URLs actually for where they can find your stuff. Let's see. Hold on. Let me just do a share with sound, share my screen. There we go. Okay, so now we can actually see your face too. Great.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, if you want to go find KJ's stuff, obviously the TikTok, it sounds like it's where you guys have the most followers. There's also a fair number of followers on this YouTube channel. Is there like a friendlier channel URL or?
You mean like a landing website where you could look at everything?
Yeah, like
no.
youtube.com whatever, easy name.
No,
okay.
Yeah, we're really bad on that. So we just typically refer people to our TikTok or YouTube. We do have like, I don't know, like a store page and stuff, but that's not what typically people want to go to.
All right. Cool. Well, look.
So those URLs will work. And also, and I've mentioned that I've worked with people I've met from the meetup in the past. And if you guys, we're always on the lookout for freelancers to help with projects. So if you do VFX 3D and you feel like you want to try your hand at one of our videos, let me know.
Awesome. Just in case anybody hasn't seen it, this is Blender 4 using, this is actually the splash screen for Blender.
I got that one up.
Which is of course downloadable to make all sorts of great non-NPR kind of stuff. So yeah, David, why don't you take us into what's new with Blender 4?
People can see my face, but hi everybody. My name is David Andrade. I'm the co-owner of Theory Studios. Proud to be with this group for more than 10 plus years now. So really can't miss one just because I got double whammy. We are a studio that uses Blender. We use it for defense, where we make 3D models in Blender, and we work deeply into the defense world. We use Blender for our animations. We have a show called Beetle Buddies. So if you have 3-year-old kids, or if you are a 3-year-old on the inside, you should Google Beetle Buddies, which I'll show for like a brief moment. It's a YouTube kids show, so we use Blender for that. And we also do a lot of work in gaming, so we use Blender in that world. And what I'm here to do is to show you guys some new features in Blender 4.0. Sheepishly, I will also plug that I teach Blender for LinkedIn Learning and also our friends at CG Cookie. So people watching this in the future, if you have a LinkedIn Learning account, they're usually free with libraries. You can search up some of the Blender courses that I have up there. But if you really want to dive in, mine's more like an appetizer, but really want to shout out to CG Cookie, because if you really want to get nuts and bolts, Jonathan and everybody there are really awesome. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to rapid fire through things. Field buddies. I'm not going to play any of these. I'll skip the ad. Skip the ad. Okay. There's no need for sound, but you know, we animate a bunch of these inside Blender. So really cute little cartoons for kids. So yeah, Blender is an awesome tool. But now let's dive a little bit deeper into Blender 4.0. If you haven't checked out the Blender release notes, they're really good. And we're going to take a look at a few of these scenes and a few of these features. But my favorite thing, and speaking to Jonathan Pell, right here, he has an awesome 11-minute video that goes over everything in Blender 4.0. We'll touch on a few key things today, but as I said before, they're such a great resource. Now, if you're super nerdy, like myself, you can Google the Blender 4.0 developer release notes, which will go down line by line of every single little thing. I'm just going to randomly click on something, 3D viewport, every single bullet point, every single commit that was made into this release. Literally, like you can actually click on the commits and see every single one. So this is a huge update. This is what's called a LTS update. So, oh no, Chrome decided to stop itself. Oh, that's okay. I'll let it do its thing. Hold on. Hopefully I didn't lose Teams. There we go. Okay. Just Chrome. That's fine. I'll let it restart really quick. But one of the good things about Blender 4.0 is that it is a LTS version. And what that means is it's a long-term support version, right? So that way we can ensure that this package will get updates for the next 2 to 3 years. I think it's about 2 to 3 years. Maybe if there is I definitely know it's a good amount of time. So hopefully it's about 2 to 3 years. Okay, let's see. Anyways, Blender release notes, show and tell. It's great. And we're going to open up the scene and talk about it for a hot second. But there's just so much that's come into here in order to save our machines and make sure we get through everything. I'll just cover kind of like the top things that are on the website. But principled BSDF is a lot simpler. In fact, a lot of materials got a lot simpler in the way that they kind of outlined them and designed them. So that's really cool. It's a lot easier to understand.
Hey, David, give me
yes.
1 second. We plugged in a USB drive that keeps blonking at us. So
that's okay.
Give me a moment. I'll see if I can eject it.
It wouldn't be a tech session without.
Hold it.
It sounded like it was the USB drive.
Yeah, well,
I just need to physically unplug it.
yeah, it doesn't sound like it's recognizes it's plugged in. So
that's okay.
All right, buddy. All right, back to you.
We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it together.
We will make it. Yeah.
I'm excited. No, it's okay. Right. So one of the coolest things, and I did have a little demo, but I crashed out and I didn't save it. So we'll just look at our coat. Really cool. This is actually part 1 and 2. There's now a new edition called Sheen, and there is a new edition called Coat. What's kind of cool is that you can click on the manual, and if you've never done this before you actually go ahead and try any of these values and render, or just take your time rendering, Blender's manual actually breaks down every single change and does a really nice, like from 0 to whatever kind of value, which is really great. So going back really quick to Coat, you can see what's going on right now is it adds just another layer of like a lacquer or paint to it. So in the world of Unreal, they call that micro, whichever micro substrate that was added in 5.2, and in Blender, it's a kind of a similar thing, kind of like that lacquer kind of coat that gets added on top. So that's cool because that layers on top of your roughness, so it works together with roughness. Definitely recommend playing with that one. And there is sheen, which sheen adds more of kind of a dust to everything. So there's a really cool demo. It's actually a little bit nicer in the release notes. So let's go take a look at that really quick. He's got a much bigger version of that. I'll just open up both of these really quick so we can really appreciate the detail. And I'll go to the top right and then to the top right again. So you can kind of see if we flip between the two, it effectively looks like everything just got a little bit grayer, but only on the areas where the light is really hitting it. So you'll see that the front of the camera, etc., some of those areas aren't really getting affected by it, but it feels like it adds like a layer of dust to everything in your scene. And so that's just a really handy tool to add to your workflow. So that is sheen. So now we have coat and sheen, right? Those are really great things that they've gone ahead and added. We keep scrolling down. This is huge. And for those of us who've done VFX or currently in VFX, this is really important. And there's no, don't use Hydrastorm. No, you should use it. Let's go ahead and go to color management and just kind of talk about this really quick. And what does this mean? There's actually a neat little like, oh yeah, here it is. There's a neat little like kind of graphic that kind of describes the three here. So let's go to standard. This is like Blender 2 stuff. This is standard, and I know this is coming through a screen share on a video, so we might not be able to entirely appreciate it, but there is a little bit of like a hard edge right here. So you've got this green that's coming in, and then if you can see right here, just kind of flat, it literally flattens out. It looks like there's just a flat green here. And it's obviously very much clipping up here on your whites, right? So you start to really clip pretty hard. So Filmic came in the 3 series and rounded that off. It just gave us a little bit more gradation, so we don't really clip as bad. And look at that. This little area right here got really, really cleaned up, right? So that turned out to be quite nice because now you can get effectively more steps. That's what you're trying to do. And whether you're shooting on a fancier camera or on an iPhone, at the end of the day, you're just trying to get more and more steps so that you can have a much better gradation. But there was one problem with Filmic, which if you come up here, and that's when things get brighter, there's a phenomena that occurs that they actually get more desaturated. And so in Filmic, if you were to blow out your lighting or this thing is like really bright and emissive, it would just get way more saturated. But in real life, it actually desaturates. And so that is what the new AGX, here we go, AGX, if we go right to AGX, that is what AGX is trying to mimic. So if you go from standard to AGX, you can see it frankly does feel a bit desaturated, right? If you go from standard to AGX, you can see, first of all, there's a really nice gradation, and where things get really, really bright, there's way more steps that are there. But because this is logarithmic, you don't really ever get to white. So that's where you add another color transform on top of that to pop out colors and give you way more depth, right? So it's covered way more in depth here. This is a real good example on the right and the left, where you can kind of compare the two as you can get way more depth into your scenes, right? So that's the idea. On the left is your standard Filmic, where things would really get kind of saturated. You can actually kind of see it right here too. Things will get super saturated. Whereas in real life, if you're shooting this through a camera, and I know through the web, it's probably blowing out pretty badly, but if you come in here, this is quite desaturated. and it's just more white, whereas here it's way more pink, right? Way more purple and pink. So that's what we're trying to get to. Where as things get brighter, they actually just naturally desaturate. That is just how lighting and cameras and our eyeballs work. So that's a really cool one. I did have a demo for this, but that's okay. I beasted, so we'll just enjoy the video because the video is really cool. Voronoi is a popular node if you've never messed with it, and it allows you to add now 2 extra layers. I don't even know how to pronounce lacunarity, but it's there. But it allows you to get these incredible little like details upon details. If I just like dive into here, that's pretty awesome. It just lets you layer in more and more and keep it super cheap because it's just a procedural material. There's actually quite a bit of speed ups, especially when it comes to point and spotlights. And for those of you on macOS, I think, Stirling, you're not on an M chip, right? But if you were.
But we do have at least one Mac user in the room. He's excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you are, I'm on an M chip. Okay, I think it's just a commit note. But you can actually get proper HDR on your Macs now. So you can actually really see, like, because Macs all have HDR displays now by default, Blender will actually render and show you an HDR image by default, which is really, really awesome. Light linking, for those of us that came from Autodesk, light linking has been a feature we've been asking for the last 300 years in Blender. What is light linking? It's the coolest way to cheat. Here we go. So on the left, you'll see there's a lot of blue lighting, and maybe you didn't want that. Maybe you just wanted to just have some of that blue lighting appear only on him, but not on the branch, right? So the blue lighting will really make our little creature stand out. And we don't want it on the branch because you start to like meld a lot of that together. So you can light link it and you can take it off. This was actually the other big problem. And we ran into this for ages. You have 2 nice like area lights right in front of the eyeballs, and they're going to render every single time. You're going to get this giant old square in your face. Not anymore. It's gone, because you can say, hey, give me the light, but don't render me on the specular pass. And it's surprisingly easy to do. It is literally a drag and drop. There's a whole area in the object menu for each light. So it's fantastic, or rather each object, I'm sorry. So each object you can determine what lighting it gets and what lighting it doesn't. That is frankly really huge. I'm been waiting for that for a super long time. I am not a geometry nodes wizard, but there is a new tool, which is actually really cool because if you scroll down, you can kind of see how it unfurls. But there's a new tool for repeating, and we'll just play the demos because the demos are so good anyways, the demos that people come up with. There's a new tool for repeating, but not only that, there is the ability to turn geometry nodes. I'm going to just, oh, there we go. Sorry, Chrome was acting a little bit weird. There is a new way to turn those geometry nodes into actual modifiers now. So let's see if I can hover. That's okay. Maybe I can like zoom into it. It's a little tough to see, but at the bottom left corner here, there we go. If I just right click, apparently. If I move away, okay. So look at the bottom left corner there as this video repeats. And I know it'll go quick, so I'll just move my hand over here. At the bottom left corner, you see what's going on there? That's your typical pop-up menu. But now that menu can be a geometry node that you're doing. So whether it's an actual tool or if it's an actual like item in your, and whether it's an actual tool or he actually shows it off right about here, or if it's actually a pop-up that appears in your modifier. There it is. Let's get rid of, there we go. I'll come back a teeny bit. So now this appears as a tool, whether in your toolbar, and it's a little hard to see, but it's at the top There it is. It's way at the top there. It can actually be a tool in your actual, like, one of your edit modes or whichever. Or as in the past, geometry tools could have also become modifiers. And that's what he's showing off there. So those of you who are super into geometry nodes, you can now turn them into distributable tools, and you don't actually need to know any Python. So there it is at the top right. It's like a little window icon up there. So you'll see it. It looks like a little page right up there. So he's just taking this simple tool, and then now it gives you the ability to distribute a geometry node based tool to the rest of your team, right? So I love this because you're effectively writing modifiers without the need for Python. You're doing it all inside geometry nodes, which I think is huge. And we do happen to use Houdini at the studio, and being able to distribute tools is a real big win, and being able to do the tools inside of Blender and distribute that is also super huge. So scroll down. There's one thing that I really love on here it is. It's all your, I love it. All your base belong to you. So I'll just demo this if people haven't seen it. It's probably the only demo I'm going to trust given this machine. I'll just go to material preview. Crossing fingers. We're crossing fingers. We're crossing fingers. Maybe I should have kept it on solid mode. I think I've hit the demo effect, Stirling. I hit it twice. Okay, yeah. Hey, we survived. Hey. We're good. Okay, all right. So keep this really easy. How do you move this straight down? Right? There's no like real tool to do that until today. So if you hit the G button for grab because you're moving something, and then hit B for base, it'll cancel out your grab and you'll get this like little hovering pop-up. Go ahead and look for like the bottom part of your like chair, or in this case couch, right? Just look for the bottom base. So this looks good enough. I'm going to left click on that. Now, wherever I drag my mouse, it'll snap to the wall, or it'll snap along my little like crown molding here, or it'll snap to my floor. So that can be a little confusing because if you hit B normally, it just does, box select, right? We'll go ahead and drag our little dude here, but it only happens when you hit G or R, S. So I'll just hit G again, hit B. Where do you want that base to be? Maybe I want it to be on the ear this time, and then left click. I'm sorry, don't even left click. Once you left click once to set the base, you can just move your mouse and it automatically just aligns wherever you want to snap to, and just let that go. It's such an awesome little tool. They actually have this really cool demo where you can also limit it. So if you hit G and then Z to go up and down, it will limit it going up and down. And so it's just such a nice little tool, and I love it. So that is the shortcut for that is B. This is an interesting update that you may not think is really necessary until you actually realize you need it all the time. Let's just go to edit mode. And now you're in edit mode. And I mean, you could, hit F3 and just, where is flip normals or whichever, right? You could do one of those things. Or maybe it's somewhere in here, and this is a giant menu. Here, I'll make this a little bit bigger because I know you said that the the thing was a little bit small. So navigation. Let's see here. Oh, it's interface. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Okay, so now you're like, okay, I need a shade smooth. Where is it? Well, if you just literally spacebar. So remember, we're in edit mode. Click any random menu button, doesn't matter where. Just hit the spacebar button and just say smooth shade smooth. That's it. Does it for you. Now, it's a little bit of a bummer. You can't you could just hit F3 and search for it. There's a little bit of a disconnect. Why is one spacebar and the other not? But if you just go to any kind of menu and you don't know where it is, you can just search for it and it gets done. There are some pop-up menus, for example, like Shift A is add. So you can go Shift A and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a giant menu. I want to just add a monkey. You can just literally just type out monkey and it'll appear. So that's a cool little tool. It doesn't seem like a big update, but it's actually really handy to allow you to quickly have those shortcuts. And it talks about how it remembers those. So, you know, if you constantly go back to that. By the way, there's an old feature that I don't see a lot of people use in tutorials, but you should totally use it. I do, for example, import export a lot. Right click, add to quick favorites. Right click, add to quick favorites. Then hit Q. Look at that. I love that tool. I don't see a lot of people use quick favorites. So I just want to bring that back. That's like a Blender 3 feature, I think, like a 3.0 feature. There are a lot of keyboard shortcut updates. It would be crazy to go through all of them, but there are actually quite a few. So that's something to really kind of consider. For those of you that are rigging, they got rid of the old bone layers kind of thing. We had 20 layers. Now you have effectively collections, which is really nice. That's a change that's much desired. They actually made the graph editor finally usable too. You've got a bunch of shortcuts on top of them that you can do to like easily blend between what's going on. But the biggest thing is that actually the graph editor, actually I do want to talk about this really briefly too. I don't think they have a slide here on it. I think it's just in the release notes. But there is a real big update to the graph editor that allows it to, yeah, here it is, performance on thousands and thousands of keyframes. So on the left is 3.6 and on the right is 4.0. And so you have the ability to like pinch and zoom and do everything in the graph editor with thousands of keyframes and thousands of curves, whereas before it was painful. It was really painful. Now there's no reason why you would do this, but you know, graph editor performance has been a struggle for Blender for a very long time. So I'm really happy.
Yeah. Good question. Go ahead.
Is it easier to move keyframes now? Because I remember that was pretty slow too.
Yeah. The graph editor basically got a big performance redo. There's an enormous amount of pull requests here that reworked the way it moved and the way that the rendering of the graph editor was doing things. So yes. It tells me that well, there's a lot of numbers here. 10x performance, you know, so we'll buy it. There is one cool thing I want to show off. So whenever you deal with mocap, you will get really garbage keyframes, which, you know, we often do sometimes. So you get these really garbage keyframes, and there is a new smooth called, and it's an adorable name, Butterworth Smooth. It's really buttery. It's really nice. Look at that. It's crappy keyframes, really nice keyframes. Don't go further or you'll kill it, you know, but it's buttery smooth. So it's awesome. All the others, Gaussian was actually all right, and it would kind of get you somewhat there, but it kind of left some of those general bumps where the shortcut is Alt S. Whereas this Butterworth Smooth, if you look at the top right here, you can see it really nicely smooths it out. Whereas the old Gaussian one, it still left kind of some of those hard bumps, right? So I'm a big fan. Those of you working in mocap, I think this will be a real big game changer. And those are some of the updates, by the way, that they briefly will mention it if you click through here, but you'll really get them once you dive through the here it is, Butterworth scaling. There's the pull request for it. So you'll really get them. I just love the release notes because they also have little videos that demonstrate each and every single one. That's like a major feature. As I'm gonna wrap up here, let's turn it on. Let's see if it works. We got Hydrastorm.
Well, we should thank you for this excellent presentation before you do, just in case.
Done. Okay, so we use a lot of Omniverse for a couple of our clients, and so we, Hydrostorm, USD, etc. That's that world, and you just want to make sure that your data will look good in that platform along with yours. I mean, Eevee's good and it works, but it calculates some things a little differently. So you can turn it on. It's just an add-on, weirdly enough, but you turn it on and then you can hit render. And you know what? I had to let it run for a good 20 minutes in the background, so there could have been that, but.
So David, can you just explain Hydrostorm is
For sure.
to do inter-application data transfer, right?
That's correct. So everybody's trying to get away from FBX. We haven't all gotten there yet, but we're getting really close. Whether it's GLTF for a lot of interoperability of just meshes and some material node graph, material X. USD, though, the promise of USD is the scene, the entirety of the scene, the rig, the animation, the mesh, the fur, all of it can go from one package into another with very little change, right? So NVIDIA, Pixar, I believe, invented it because they always had it at their booths every SIGGRAPH. And then NVIDIA got all into USD, and it's just become a real big thing. So Blender added a lot of support for USD. And hey, what do you know? It didn't crash. And so Hydrostorm is a way to say, hey, what would my thing render like in other USD applications? Now, obviously, it looks different, and I'll do this. This is where we're gonna pray. We'll switch to Eevee, and you can see Eevee and Hydra just look differently, and admittedly, a lot of that's also color management, right? The transform that's going on there, but it just allows you, especially if you're going from one package to another, to see how, if you were to do a universal scene description, a whole USD export of this whole Blender scene into a completely different package, you could bring this right now into Maya and it'll most likely look exactly like this. So that's the kind of the promise of Hydra, the promise of USD, and the bridge that it's trying to be between all the packages. Each package, of course, like the Mayas and the Blenders and Houdinis of the world, all have their own flavor, how they're going to interpret that data. And you can see, in the case of Eevee, it certainly looks significantly better. But what we're trying to do is just have a baseline. So that's what Hydrostorm's about. Just have a baseline of what all of that will look like. So it's only helpful if you go between multiple programs, right? And then here we are in the world of it's funny. It's like little differences if you go between View Transform, Filmic, and then AGX, by the way. So, real quick, back to the AGX stuff. If you're everything looks washed out, they mention this, but it gets lost. But there's this thing under color management called Look, and you can go to Punchy, and that'll give you some effects. There's plenty of other things in here that you can do. Generally, this workflow, though, is built around the thought that you are going to take this render and do compositing work on top of it, right? So just keep that in mind. Things look gray when you first render them, and you're like, I can't get bright whites. It's not that you can't. It's just it's intended for you to take it into a compositor and then push it beyond its limits. You've got a ton of data, then you can kind of play with some of the looks. LUTs might be another way you've seen them, or the curves, etc. That's Lumetri is what Adobe calls it, right? So that's the whole concept. The last thing I'll end on, because this is just talking about that it's VFX platform ready with the latest Python, but this is really cool. This just comes out of the box. You can't. I think there's it looks like you got to download the asset bundle, which is kind of weird because when I come up here, you can click on this little playback icon and go to Asset Browser, Human-Based Meshes. You got a bunch of humans, and they're just there. They're just ready to go, right? So you've got a bunch of humans that are just, whether they're cartoony or not, male or female, you've just got the whole package right there. And I think that's really cool for, especially for people starting out or wanting to learn or use it as a base to sculpt. So a lot in 4.0, long-term support. That's the idea is that this one will continue for a good long while, right? So that's what the 4.0, there's going to be a few small updates with it, but that's what the promise of 4.0 is. And I don't want to open any other scenes and wreck this machine. So with that, I think I'll conclude my presentation.
All right, thanks, David. I appreciate it. A round of applause for David. Any questions for David before we change topic? I think I want to give, actually, David, if you don't mind, I would love to give maybe the show and tell a little bit of time here. See, as we're heading towards one. Thank you so much for the overview.
Of course.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming in sick and still doing your best here.
Yeah, and then crashing out.
Can we try one more time?
Yeah, we can see if it'll recognize the drive. If not, I'll keep it for next time.
I'm excited. Let's see it.
All right. Okay. So
a different dongle.
Yeah, let's try a different dongle.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. Let's see what's the best way to do this. Here, let's try this. Dongles galore. We're
Oops.
USB. All right, hold on one second.
It wasn't dongle. Okay.
Just be careful with the cables. There's lots of stuff here.
And then is it cool if I open like a browser too?
Of course.
One that you're running for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that.
The Edge.
That guy there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
And the left-hand side.
Thanks.
Scroll to the bottom.
New tab.
Scroll to the bottom, and you'll see a plus. For,
oh, wait, up here.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
That works too.
Okay. So this is I made a birthday card for my mom.
Are we? Sorry, I'm not sure if we're sharing desktop yet.
Oh.
Let me just do that.
Thank you.
No, that's my bad. Let me go here. Share desktop. Do sound.
Yeah.
Screen. All right. Go for it.
Okay, sweet. I made like a birthday card for my mom using Blender. So what I did was, oh no, did I have to do the H? What did I type it in wrong? Am I missing something? Aha, I am. Come on. Oh my god. Is it not? It's a slash, not a dot. Sorry, I made this because I forgot to put the video on the thumb drive. So I made this one. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna pause it halfway through, but okay, there we go.
Maybe better for what I thought.
Oh, sure. Okay. Oh, wait, let's see. Is this full volume?
It should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, stop. We have to sing the song.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mommy. Happy birthday to you.
All right, so I'm not gonna, it goes on and so this is all like members of my family. I had them like sing along to a karaoke video and then send me so that would be synced up, right? And then send me the file and I like put it together, which I have some more information about that. But then they all like said a little message. So that's what this looks like. I'm not gonna play it though, because
Oh, that's so awesome.
you guys don't gotta watch all that.
Is that actually your dog we hear talk?
Yeah, that's the dog.
Oh, that's
so I have some what is that? How do I get this out of? There we go. I have some little breakdown. Okay, so I use this, speaking of Omniverse, I use and USD and OpenUSD and the push. I use this Omniverse tool, like in the tool library called Audio to Face. Have you guys? Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, it's let's see, where is it? I think I have a video. no file extension, so I can't even tell what I named it now. Maybe this one, is that oh, down there. Oops, sorry. Okay, looks like I don't have the videos in here, but basically it's this tool where like you can, this is a screenshot of a window from the tool. You can take like a mesh and then, so like for instance, like this para mesh, this is what it looked like in Maya after coming out of the tool. This is a lemon. And and like you can connect it to this face mesh in the audio to face tool that you can drive the lip syncing with. So there's a neural net that takes whatever audio file and then has the base mesh do the lip sync, and then you can set up a transfer to whatever you put in there. So that required a little bit of messing with it, but after that I cleaned it. I took it into Maya because there was some additional cleanup that had to happen. So, you know, on the subject of maybe the gulf between the vision of USD and the reality of using USD is that I found that when it came out of this tool, all the vertex orders changed. And so I needed to put a blend shape on afterwards. So I had to like use Maya to, reconfigure the vertex orders, which I bet you can do in Blender too. But then after that, I was able to go right into Blender, and I made to render it like this, because as you can see from like this image, the deformations look really bad, and that kind of is like what happens when you're doing like an automated animation process. You don't have like control over what that looks like. So I did this like setup where I only used not that big. I only used the diffuse path, and then I blowed out the background. And so to get the outlines, I used like that, solidify modifier trick, which I think actually kind of takes advantage of the crappy deformations. Like, those, as I showed you, like those look really bad, but then when you put the outline modifier on them and only do diffuse, I think it looks like pretty decent. So yeah, that was kind of it. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to show. No, not really. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I have some stuff.
Yep.
There we go. Oh no. Sorry, I'm going to random folders. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll try and put it in.
I'll try to be quick then too.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we could squeeze two in before.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I think we miraculously survived. Yeah, that's why.
It seems to be fine.
Yeah.
Nothing broke.
Step big. I need to get.
That's on.
No, it's a thing.
Awesome.
This
Okay.
thing right here. All right. You wouldn't happen to have Instagram on your browser, would you?
I do not.
Dang it. I wonder if I can still go to. I might just have to show it on my phone then, because that's where I have it.
All right. There you go. All right. So let's do. Instagram. I'm gonna try Instagram, see if I can get there somehow. Yeah,
I only posted it on Instagram, but I know that they make you log in sometimes. So let's see.
Yeah, it's hit Instagram. I should be logged in. I could log in as me if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that would work perfectly.
Okay.
I think you just hit that button or whatever.
I'm not really I don't use it a lot, but
Yeah, I only use it to like look up Blender stuff, honestly.
you're in there.
Let's see if I can find my profile. Oh, there we go. So a couple months ago, I did the 30th Century Fox logo for Futurama. Check it out. I made it in Blender. Yeah. So if you guys see the new season of Futurama, there's some proof there that I mostly did the 3 because they had the rest of the thing. That's why I can see it. It's kind of bugged, but they had the entire scene set up and they just needed me to do the 3. And I was like, I modeled it, rigged it. It took a couple hours, and then got approved all the way up the pipeline. So I was like, yeah, it was pretty quick. So that's what I did earlier this year, and then I could show. Let me see. Let's go here. Close this and do new new general scene, and I'll take logo and drop it right here. Oh wait, this is the PowerPoint. Hold on, sorry, I'm minimizing everything. I'm just gonna drop this on your desktop.
Go for it.
So I recently, I did this logo last year. A lot of the stuff I've done this year is pretty cool, but I can't show any of it, unfortunately, because the movie industry works very slowly. And so,
Strikes.
Yeah, all the strikes too. I'm working for a Miami-based company now, so we're not affected by the strikes. I'll look them up. What's that?
Did they recently wrap that up?
They did recently, so we'll start seeing things ramp up. But I'm working for this different company now, so it's called Edgelord, which is not. I didn't pick the name. It's what they're making. The guy that is in charge, he did this movie in 2012 called Spring Breakers with I'm making R-rated content. It's like a raunchy, whatever. But I designed this logo for their latest movie. It's called Aggro Drift, featuring Travis Scott. There we go. And it's on Instagram. It got how many likes? Got 1,000 likes on Instagram. Yeah, my logo. Pretty cool. And then I got, since that's out, that finally came out recently. So I can go here. Oh, first of all, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Preferences, Add-ons. I'm going to install a little plugin called Redshift that I dropped here. It's pretty useful. I'm going to click, I'm going to enable that, and I'm going to get a Python error because it doesn't work.
I've got an older version of Blender on the system. I think if you need it.
Yeah, this is 4.0 though, right?
Yes.
It should work in 4.0. That's weird. Yeah, but I could try. Do you have? If I just like search for. Well, if you have like the previous version, maybe.
Oh gosh, did I delete it? I deleted it.
Oh, you deleted it? Okay, I might still be able to open the file anyway.
365.
Up 365. Does it work?
It'll take a while.
It'll download.
Yeah, but
especially with the. I'm gonna see if I can still like pull it up anyways, because the file might be able to work. Let's see. Also, if I close and reopen Blender, sometimes that works.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you know how to reopen Blender once I close it? Should I just?
Yeah. So if you go start.
Okay, go ahead.
Table. So start. Sorry.
You probably just type in Blender, right?
Yeah, I don't ever install it.
Oh, you don't?
So I just run.
You have a.
Oh,
you have the portable version somewhere.
Yeah. So here. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
This is Windows 11.
This is under.
Messed with it yet.
Downloads.
At least it's not Linux.
Stable. Blender 4.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I can just run from that folder then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Loading. I'm going to try one more time because sometimes it just breaks and doesn't work. Install. Yep, it installed. You just needed to restart Blender. I've done that so many times that it's just. Oh wait, no, never mind. It didn't install. Okay, I'll see if I can open it anyway. Let's go to desktop. There's the logo. I've been using Redshift. Like Cycles is pretty cool because they just came out with a lot of new features but Redshift has had those features for like several months or like a year now. So I'm still using Redshift for everything. You can see all my nodes are destroyed here though, but but I have I have the logo right here that I made it out of like gun parts or something like that. They're supposed to be gun parts. And I don't know, it looks pretty fancy, I guess, when you let's see, I can do this. If I scrub the animation back and forth, it's like opening and closing or whatever. And I used, what did I use? I used like some crappy empties. I used a bunch of empties that I hid apparently, but like they're being used for this thing. I guess if I open this thing, yeah, here we go. I had this version too that had a bunch of like pipes on the inside, but that was a little too much. Deleted that, and then I was kit bashing it from. Let's see if this opens. I might have just crashed your thing. It works fine on my 4090.
It's a little MacBook Pro.
Yeah, this one might. Oh, there we go. Yeah, here are all my guns that I was kit bashing with. Oh, nope, it's. Oh, there you go. I downloaded a bunch of guns off Turbo Squid, and I was kit bashing them. It gets the job done quickly, you know, but it was still kind of hard to like, because we have like a specific font that we're using and stuff like that. So it took a few days, but I think it turned out pretty cool. Yeah, that's all my stuff. That's my stuff.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna run out of time, and yeah, I'm really sorry, because I do need to break this down. So if you're with us for the first time, the group normally goes somewhere for a drink and bite to eat afterwards. First round's on me. So Mr. Crosby in the back is gonna kind of be our Pied Piper to take the group over there. There's a place called Blue Jam Cafe. I don't know, does anybody know this area? You might know this area, right? Are there any walkable favorites?
Everything around here is like hipster and expensive.
Well, the first round's on him, so.
Oh, yeah, that's fucking most.
Cognacs for everyone.
I mean, Google Maps would probably be better than me.
Okay, well, I mean, let's go with it's like 20 to 30 bucks a head. It looks like a Blue Jam Cafe, which they look like they've like good comfort food. So here, let me just bring it up on Google Maps so we could see. Let's see maps.
I'll fly over right now. I should get there by tomorrow.
Yeah. Blue Jam Cafe.
Is that a walking distance?
Yeah, it's 10 minutes. 10 minutes from where we are. So we're like right here. It's like over
okay,
here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Ish.
They got good reviews. I hope they're not crowded. Like,
yeah.
It's Saturday.
I mean, it looks pretty big. So yeah. So let's. I don't know if hopefully they have a liquor license, but yeah, let's go check it out. But yeah, I want to thank all the presenters today. I'm sorry we didn't get to present everybody's show and tell. I'll hopefully learn next time to give you guys even more time for show and tells. But yeah, thanks to everybody. And for those who are new to this group, we hope to see you next time. We have these meetings about every Blender release. So roughly 3 to 4 months in between. So yeah, we'll see you at the next one. And for everybody online, thanks for joining.
See ya.
See you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
You too. Bye.